All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hey, today we're going to be doing Tia Mowry and Cory Hardrict. All right. I hate that these guys got divorced. They really make a good couple. In this video, I'm going to show you why. They really make a good couple. I really hate that they got divorced. They should have stayed together because they're very compatible. And what I'm about to show you guys is that when you find somebody that's compatible with you, what you want to do, you want to stick with them, okay? You don't want to separate yourself from them because if you do, it's going to be very difficult for you to find another individual like them. It really is. It's really hard to do that. So with no further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the chart. We're going to start off with Tia Mowry first. She was born July 6, 1978 at 4:32 in Germany. The first thing I want you guys to get a grasp of is whether or not she can be in a relationship. So we're going to be looking at the planetary alignments mostly for both individuals. Now, the birth time for her, it may or may not be correct. It kind of got a C rating, so it may or may not be correct. So it may be some word of mouth. So we're just going to be looking at the planetary alignments. So the first thing that pops out, and you guys keep a watch of the cursor right here because I'm going to be showing you different things and pointing out different things in the natal chart and also in the transits. And we're going to be looking at their wedding day, whether or not they got married at the right time, which they did not. Unfortunately, they did the best they can. They did the best they could. Not the best they can, but they did the best they could to get married at the right time. But unfortunately, the planetary alignments were not in their favor. But you know, they did the best they could. They could have gotten through it had they had a little bit more guidance, but unfortunately, they didn't. Had she made some decisions like a sister made, she would have gotten through it. But they did, she did not. So the first thing that pops out at me about her planetary alignments is her Juno. So let's just take a look at Juno. I'm circling it right now. As you guys can see, her Juno is at 5 degrees of Aquarius and it's retrograde. So whenever I see this in a person's chart, I know right off the bat that partnerships, relationships, marriages, the energy is going to be going backwards, okay? Then I look at the sign. It's in Aquarius. So we know she's going to be, she wants to be in unconventional relationships or unconventional marriages, okay? So when you have that going on, the marriage is not going to be traditional. The partnership is not going to be traditional. The relationship is not going to be traditional, is it? Because it's very unconventional with that Aquarius, all right? And also it's retrograde. So the energy is going backwards. So her thinking about marriages is kind of backwards, isn't it? As we saw, as time went on, after she got the divorce, we saw how she thought about marriage, right? She thought about marriage as a school or something, right? It was something weird like that, some weird shit like that, right? Talking about she graduated from marriage and all that. So that's a little unconventional, isn't it? That's not traditional. Traditionally, you don't graduate from it, right? Traditional, you it's death to death do its part, right? So that's the kind of thinking that she had. She had the kind of thinking where this is a school and I'm learning from it and I'm growing from it. Of course, you do those things, but you don't graduate. Hell, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, then to death do its part. That's the graduation date, isn't it? But she wasn't looking at it like that. She looked at it a little backwards, right? In reverse. That's what that retrograde is all about. You see what I'm saying? So another thing that pops out, look at her Mercury, her way of thinking. All right. Now, as you know, Mercury is in its fall in Leo. So her Mercury is at 6 degrees of Leo. What is it doing, guys? It's in opposition. Okay. Juno is in opposition to Mercury. So her way of thinking about marriage, she opposes it in a way, all right, because of her way of thinking. Her thinking about marriage is not up to par, is it? So when I see a person with this particular planetary alignment, I say to myself, you know what? They're going to have to come to the middle ground with their way of thinking, because with an opposition, that's what you do. You come to a middle ground to resolve that issue. She didn't come to a middle ground, did she? She went all the way to the left with this unconventional thinking about marriage. Her sister did not, did she? Now, that's a good thing. So she has a twin, and I'm going to be doing a series on twins real soon, because twins, they don't think alike, do they? They think similarly, but and trust me, I know I have twins, and they think, they may think similar things, but they will make different decisions just based on the time of birth. Okay, now I believe her sister was born a minute later or 2 minutes later, and guys, believe me, those minutes count. I mean, I remember when I was in the room, okay, while my children were being born, okay, while they was coming out the womb, I was counting, okay, because I was like, you know what, these planets are moving, the signs are moving, and I'm trying to get my son out of there as soon as possible, because I already knew that, when he came out, he was going to have a certain planetary alignment. Okay. My daughter, I was like, you know what? Hey, she already out. Okay, cool. Let's get my son out. But he wanted to stay in the womb and be warm and all that. That's a whole different story. But guys, this is what I mean about twins, because the minutes matter. The seconds matter in astrology. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So now we do see her Venus is in Leo. That's good. It's 23 degrees of Leo. So the loyalty can be there, or if she makes the decision for it to be there. Again, going back to this Mercury in opposition to her Juno. Now, Saturn is in Leo. It's 27 degrees of Leo. Now, unfortunately, that creates a semi-square to her sun, but that's either, they're hey, it is what it is, all right? So now the longevity, her loyalty or longevity, that has a lot to do with it, right? All right. So let's take a look at Cory Hardrict real quick. All right. Cory Hardrict. All right. He was born November 9th, 1979. All right. We don't have his birth time. I'm not about to rectify the chart. In Chicago, Illinois, guys. So now, as you can see, he's younger than her. So he's applying to her. That means what, guys? He likes her more than she likes him. And we saw that from the past, right? Just looking at their relationship. So, and that's how it is, guys. It is what it is. Age gap dating does work. Age gap relationship works. All right, it does. Now, this works. I can tell you that right now. Once we put the charts together and I show you guys how compatible they were, and how compatible they still are. Okay, they're still compatible. So, but unfortunately, they're not going to get back together. I mean, they should, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't, because I'll get to that later. So, look, let's just look at his chart, all right? So we see his sun is at 16 degrees of Scorpio. You got Uranus right by the sun. So, let's see. That's, yeah, that Uranus is combust a little bit, but it's all good. Now, can he be in a relationship? He loves deep, right? He's a Scorpio, so we know he loves deep. So, and he has a nice trine here too. Look at that trine, guys. He has a nice trine. Look at Juno. Juno is at 26 degrees of Cancer. Got his moon possibly at 25 degrees. That's a nice trine with his sun and Uranus. So that's really good. So he wants to be, as you can see, and it shows within his life, he wants to be in a relationship. He wants to be in a marriage. That's good, because he has a nice trine to it. So his planetary alignment, just right off the bat, it shows that he wants to be in a relationship and a marriage. That's good. That's what you want, right? That's what most ladies want. They want a man like that. That's good. All right. So, however, he does have some things. All right. He does have some things too that he has to work on. Look at his Mercury. We know his Mercury is retrograde. All right. We also know that Mercury's in his detriment. So it's debilitated. It's twice. It's debilitated twice. All right. And then on top of that, is what? It is square in the nose. So he has a T-square going on with his Mercury. So his way of thinking is kind of off-centered as well as hers. Look at Venus. It's also square in the nose. So it's easy for him to get in relationships. That's good. With his trines from Juno to the Sun and Uranus, but maintaining a loving relationship is a challenge, isn't it? Right? Because his philosophy behind love, it needs to match his what? His wife's, fiance, or girlfriend's philosophy. Okay. Also, he doesn't need to separate from her. So, with that Sagittarius right there, Sag rules freedom, philosophy, foreign. He would have probably did better with a foreign lady, possibly. All right. So, that's something to think about. But overall, the guy has a good chart. She has a good chart. As far as acting is concerned, that's good. Got Neptune right there. That's good. Going back to her chart, I mean, she has a lot of good stuff. Look at Mercury. It's trining her part of fortune. It's trining Vista. So she does really good at acting, especially with comedy. Look at Neptune right here. It's trining Venus. So really good stuff. She has, well, with comedy, of course, Jupiter rules comedy. She has her Jupiter right by her sun, so that's really nice. That's trining Uranus. So she can be very funny, very spontaneous. That's really good. So both of them got really good stuff. That's why I wish they would have stayed together, because they're really good together, not separate. They're better together than apart. Okay. Now let's look at their wedding day, guys. All right. So they got married April 20th, 2008. Now I put the clock at 2:00 because it's dual, right? Two people, right? So I put it at 2:00 in Santa Barbara, California. So guys, just take a look. Take a look and see what's going on this day. Okay, they got married April 20th, 2008. They stayed married for quite a while. I mean, they really did. I mean, they stayed married for quite a while, and that's good. That's why I really wanted them to really stay together to death do us part, because this is good. Although they got married at the wrong time, they still could have worked this out. Okay, because of their personal planetary alignments, they just couldn't though. Although they was compatible, they just couldn't. Okay, and this is a prime example of that. So look at it. Okay, what's the first thing that pops out, guys? What rules marriages? All right. Now we see Venus, right? Now we know Venus is at what? 18 degrees of Aries. All right. So we see that. Now we know Aries is in his. We know Venus is in his detriment in Aries. So we do know that, right? So Venus on this day is very detrimental for Venus to be in Aries. So we know Venus on this day is very detrimental. Okay. So we know the love is very detrimental in this day, right? So we see that. Now, could they have avoided this? Possibly. Now, it is trining the South Node. Granted, okay? But it is what it is. They didn't know. They probably didn't know. Look at Juno. Now, guys, I've told you guys this plenty of times, all right? If you got Venus retrograde or Juno retrograde, do not get married on that day. Do not get engaged on that day. Now, Venus is already debilitated already. And then we got Juno right here, which rules marriages and partnerships. Not only is it's at a critical degree. Not only is it retrograde, but it's at a critical degree of 29. All right. So it's at the end. All right. It's in a late degree. So it's at a critical degree. So it's 29 degrees of Sag, and it's retrograde. So it's debilitated twice. So he has they have two debilitated planets. Well, two planets that's debilitated. Okay. that's related to what? Love, marriage, partnerships on this day. And this is a ceremony that's what? Creating or celebrating love and marriage, right? So when you got that, we all know where this is heading, right? We all know where the marriage is heading. It's not going to be going too far, is it? Speaking of time, now they did have some good stuff, okay? Now look at Saturn. Saturn is also retrograde. They had too many retrograde planets, relating to marriages, relating to partnerships. Also, longevity. Saturn rules time, of course. We went over that. All right, is retrograde. Now, it is trine in the sun and Mercury. So that's good. So that's why they made it. That's why they made it so long, okay? They made it to that certain point because they had Saturn, which is trine in the sun on that day, which is good. That's a really good thing. Now, can you imagine if Saturn wasn't retrograde? If Juno was in retrograde, if Venus was in a better sign on that day, they would have made it. They would have made it, guys. It's simple as that. They would have made it. Unfortunately, Saturn was retrograde. So it cut their time short. It cut the marriage short. Another thing, look at Lilith right here. It's in Sag. It's completely squaring Saturn. It's completely squaring Saturn. So that in itself, Lilith has the ability to create or destroy. So it destroyed the time they had together. So not only was the time their marriage was shortened within time with that retrograde because the energy is going backwards. Time is going backwards. But it was just shortened due to that fact because of the retrograding planets. As a matter of fact, they had a grand trine going on. Look at the sun. Sun is at 1 degree of Taurus. I mean, it's absolute. That's why they made it for so long. That's why they made it so far, because they had some good stuff. Unfortunately, the planets were just kind of debilitated, and it cut the marriage short. So the sun is trining Saturn. Saturn is trining Pluto. I mean, had a grand trine with it. So that's beautiful. I love that. But unfortunately, Pluto was retrograde. Juno retrograde. Venus in its detriment. Saturn retrograde. So, when you got a lot of retrograde planets, when the energy is going backwards like that on a ceremonial date, it's going to cut the energy that you're creating with time and the subject matter short. It's going to cut it short. It's simply put, all right? So, and this is how you pressure test your knowledge, guys. All right, I've seen this over and over again in clients. I've seen it over and over again with celebrities, of course. So this is why I'm explaining that to you so you guys can learn this. So when you see this, you can tell that person to make the proper adjustments. If they have a wedding day, they can make the proper adjustments so that their marriage can be long and fruitful. So you want that to death do its part. I just showed you guys again with the Carters how they was together for 77 years, right? Now, did they have planetary alignments like this? No, they didn't have planetary alignments like this. So obviously, it works, doesn't it? All right. So having the right planetary alignments, it works. It works. That's just plain evidence of astrology working. This is evidence of astrology working as well. It's just not working in their favor. Okay. So, but as you see, they had some good stuff as well. So that's what kept them together for so long. 2008 to after what they got divorced in 2023. But this is what kept them together for so long. But they could have worked this out. Okay. Just because, they had these planets that were retrograde, they could have kept going. They could have moved the energy, pushed the energy forward. Although the energy is going backwards, they felt probably like it was an uphill battle, but they still could have pushed it forward a little bit more. All right. So this is just based on the decisions. based on the decisions and actions that they do. Now, let me show you guys why they should have stayed together, because they're so compatible, and I love it. They really are compatible, guys. And that's why she still talks about him. That's why he still wants to be with her. Of course, he's applying to her, but that's the reason, because they're so compatible, guys. Now, the first thing that I saw, I said, wow, these two need to get back together. I kind of wish they could have, but they really do. I mean, look at Juno. Here's Juno. Now, remember, guys, she's on the inside. He's on the outside, okay? So just follow along with me. Here's Juno at 26 degrees of Cancer. Just look at it, all right? That's without his moon. We know his moon is involved too, but look at this conjunction. Look at that conjunction with her moon. His Juno is making a conjunction with her moon at 27 degrees. I mean, that right there, what did I tell you guys? When you have that Juno-Venus conjunction or Juno-Moon conjunction, that is the best feeling in the world. That is not only the best feeling in the world, but it's the best logical conjunction you can have. Best emotional conjunction, best logical from a astrological standpoint, and also from a realization standpoint. That's the conjunction that you want, because that conjunction is going to solidify and keep you together. All right. And it did keep them together for some time, but unfortunately, the timing of their marriage and the personal planetary alignments that she has, it just didn't pan out. But this conjunction is beautiful. This is what keeps him wanting, saying, hey, I want family. I want my family back. Because his Juno is in Cancer. That's family. That's family oriented. Now, her moon is also at 27 degrees of Cancer. She's also family oriented. She like, damn, I miss him being there. I miss him with this family dynamics. That's why she got a picture, in one of her videos where they still together. She misses that family dynamics. This is the reason why, guys, because that Juno and moon conjunction right there, that's beautiful. I mean, that is nice. Also, now, this is a separating aspect, but, her Venus is making a conjunction to, well, of course, depending on how you want to look at it, all right? But we know Mars kind of travels, Venus kind of travels a little bit faster than Mars, but her Venus is making a conjunction to his Mars. That's what you want, guys. That's beautiful, because that sexual chemistry is off the chain. It's good. That's hot, right? So that's really good. So they got some really good conjunctions. Check this out. Look at Saturn making a conjunction to her North Node. I mean, their conjunctions are just off the chain, guys. Not only conjunctions, but they got nice trines as well. Very compatible. Now, of course, his Sun is making a separating aspect to her Uranus. I mean, it's still a nice conjunction, okay? His beams are still shining on her, okay? Right there. That's good. That's a beautiful thing. Also, look at his Venus. Now, his Venus is trining her Mercury. That's a beautiful thing. That right there is a nice flow of energy saying, hey, he communicates, she communicates love to him. She communicates love he communicates love to her. Okay. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. His philosophy about love, they have a nice philosophy about love. Her thinking should have been a little bit better. She should have came to the middle with her thinking about the relationship and love. So this is really good. That's a nice trine. That is beautiful. So that's what I like about them. They got some nice stuff, guys. I really wish they would have stayed together. That's why she's having a hard time finding someone else, guys, because look how compatible she is to him. And he may have a hard time moving on, because look how compatible she is to him. Okay? she's thinking about, wow, he's so compatible for me. And he's thinking like, damn, she's very compatible to me as well. So this is why she's having a hard time moving on. It's hard for her to find a person that's compatible as him. All right. It's just point blank. As you guys can see right here, her chances of finding somebody like Cory Hardrict is like, well, I wouldn't say slim to none, but it's very, very difficult. I mean, very difficult. Because I mean, she lucked up on this to have a person with conjunctions and trines like the way they have it right here. They lucked up. I mean, she lucked up on this. So, with the kids and everything, look at this. His series is trining her Mercury. I mean, that's good. So we know his ideas of having kids are there. He loves the family dynamics with kids. That's a beautiful thing. Now, the reason why he probably don't want to get back with her is because he's thinking in his head, like, wait a minute, you said you graduated from marriage. And he's thinking like, okay, what you about to do now if I get back with you? What you go and get a master's degree, a PhD, and get back with me, and then you go graduate again, and you go leave me again? So he's thinking in his head like, damn, you just did this to me. And for all the guys that she's looking at that she want to date, and she's out there trying to date, and the guys that she run into, they're thinking in their head like, wait a minute, I remember what you did to Cory. I mean, the same thing you did to him, you gonna do to me. That's what they're thinking. That's what all men are thinking, guys. Whenever she run into a guy, that's why she has so many issues dating right now or trying to land a guy. Because the guys, look, men look at this, okay? They look at what she's done in her past, and they're thinking to themselves like, okay, the same thing you did to him, you gonna do to me. If I get with you, you go graduate. So what's the point of even getting with you? So they ignore her. I mean, that's simple, plain and simple. It's simple and plain, guys. All right. Same thing going on with what's her name? What is that? What's that young lady's name? Lori Harvey. Yeah, I gotta do a video on her. They think the same thing. Every guy that runs into her, you know what they're thinking? Damn, I remember how she did that guy from Creed, that played on Creed. I remember how she did him. I mean, damn, she could do me the same way. That's what they're thinking, guys. That's what the guys are thinking. It was just like I said with Tia Mowry. The guys that she runs into, they're thinking the same thing. They're thinking like, wow, Cory Hardrict was a good guy, and damn, she did him like that. She probably gonna do the same thing to me. That's how it is, guys. So if ladies, if you listening, I mean, guys look at that. They think about that. So this is why Tia Mowry have a hard time, finding dates and stuff like that and dating and getting somebody new, because most guys, she would have to go to another country or date a guy that knows nothing about what happened with Cory Hardrict and her. That's what she would have to do. She would have to get a guy that has no idea what happened with that relationship. Most guys in the world know what happened with her and Cory Hardrict. So they're looking at her like, okay, well, you're not about to graduate from my ass. I mean, so you can miss me with that. So, that's that. But that's the reason, guys. But I wish they would get back together. This would be, if he can forgive her or whatever. But I doubt it, because again, he's thinking like, well, if you did this to me once, you'll probably do it again. So, but I hate that they separated and got divorced, because they make a good couple. All right. But anyway, guys, hit that like button, share this video. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.